Greetings nerdy list aficionados and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. Today we're going to be taking a look at superheroes who were forgotten, but not in the way you may imagine. Not for all of them anyway. We're going to be taking a look at a blend of canonical and editorially mandated instances of a character just disappearing, poofing out of existence. I'm Sasha and these are the top 10 superheroes who disappeared. Let's get started. Number 10, Jade. Jade first appeared in All-Star Squadron number 25 in 1983. She was the daughter of the first Green Lantern, that's the Golden Age Green Lantern, so Alan Scott. Fun fact, she also has a twin brother, Obsidian. Jade was a legacy hero who was given up for adoption when she was born because her mother felt that her and her brother would have a better life that way. This resulted in her and her brother being separated. She would later apply to the JSA, the Justice Society of America, but be rejected, and instead she would form another group with the rejects called Infinity Inc. She's green and has powers because of her father's exposure to space and other magical and scientific paraphernalia, just reasons. She would become fairly well known when she began dating Kyle in the 90s. That's Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern. And for some fans, she was a standout character, but not enough to keep her around. She would be killed and resurrected, but then would vanish from existence in the New 52 and DC Rebirth. The first removal was because of a modification to the sexuality of Alan Scott, from straight to gay, not bi, but gay, which removed Jade from existence. And then in Rebirth, she just wasn't back. She appeared at the end of the Doomsday Clock, an event that after 2 years essentially ended on, there will be changes and more retcons and crises. So we shall see what happens with Jade, but for a decent period of time, she was completely forgotten. Number 9, Helena Wayne. Crisis on Infinite Earths is a famous DC company-wide retcon that occurred in 1985. It was a reset that for a time eliminated the multiverse, instead crushing everything and all the remaining characters into one universe. Before that, and funnily enough after as well as it would turn out, there had been many Earths, and one of them, in fact the first multiple Earth, was Earth 2, home to the legacy characters from the Golden Age. These characters would produce heroes of their own, next generation heroes. On this Earth, Batman married Catwoman. The two heroes would produce a daughter named Helena Wayne, who would go on to become the Huntress. But then she would be rebooted as Helena Bertinelli. And so for a time, Helena Wayne was forgotten, only to re-emerge with the reintroduction of the multiverse decades later. Which would then create the unique conundrum of having two Huntresses, and some fans preferring one to the other. Number 8, the Sentry. Let's dive fully into canon with the Sentry. The Sentry appeared in the year 2000 in the comic Sentry number 1 and is Robert Reynolds. He is forgotten by design because he had a secret. So him being forgotten was a retcon to bring him into the Marvel Universe in the first place. A machine was built attached to his hideout by Reed Richards himself and Doctor Strange because he, the Sentry, had a dark half, an evil counterpart known as the Void. At the time it was believed that the only way to save the Earth was by making everyone forget the Sentry had ever existed, including the Sentry himself. The Sentry has since been remembered and even merged with his dark half, so he won't be forgotten again anytime soon. Number 7, Cassandra Cain. Hello, the New 52, we meet again. So the New 52 was an event created after Flashpoint, where the Flash, Barry Allen, went back in time to save his mom, and in the process of attempting to repair the damage he had wrought by saving her, the timeline that he came back to had been radically altered. This occurred because DC at the time was under the mistaken idea that legacy characters were a bad idea, so basically the opposite of the currently looming 5G approach. So many characters disappeared during this time. One was Cassandra Cain, who was a really cool character. She was the daughter of Lady Shiva. At the start, she was a mute assassin who would communicate through sign language and who could read people's body language to a T. And she had a terrifying costume. Because she didn't speak, it had no mouth, just all black. She would be adopted by Bruce and join the Bat family, and then she would be gone. There was an outcry claiming that DC was particularly targeting its female characters, since all the male Bat family members still existed. DC would claim, no, calm down, it's fine. We have a plan. This was all planned. And Cassandra would indeed reappear, but fans would forever wonder, was it really planned or was this a case of caving to backlash? Number 6, Stephanie Brown. Someone in the exact same boat as Cassandra Cain. Stephanie Brown was another Batgirl, and the first in-canon female Robin. She had already had tons of controversy, what with her brutal death in War Games that was so poorly received it was quickly clumsily retconned. She also had a teenage pregnancy plot, which ended up being very well received. And she would also eventually become Batgirl. Fans were enjoying the progression of Batgirls and the unique factors that they all brought to the table. It also was helping with the now firmly established transition of Barbara to Oracle, one of those rare times where it felt like things were moving forward, not backwards, and that was okay. Although of course not everyone loved it. And then, bam, the New 52. And Stephanie who? Like Cassie before her, she too would reappear. But she would be back to her spoiler persona and dealing with her villainous father, the Clue Master. Number 5, Connor Kent, aka Superboy. Okay, this one is interesting. Our 90s Superboy with his hip haircut and glasses and low-cut side belt would appear during the reign of the Superman arc, and then would magically transition from Con-El to Connor Kent, though his name would also still be Con-El. He would have a black t-shirt and jeans and a slightly shifted origin. It was one of those soft retcons as they call them. The New 52 would not erase Connor, but it would revamp his origin again, by Daddy Lex, but just for a bit. Then Rebirth would make it all very confusing, for at the end of the New 52, it was revealed that the original pre-Flashpoint Superman was alive, and he was married to Lois and had a son, Jonathan Kent, Superboy. So what did that mean for Connor? Well, for a bit, he vanished. He would reappear, but this was a case of, so how do we work both of these Superboys in at the same time? The solution? The return of 90s style Superboy over in the Young Justice book, and hyper-aging Superman's son to the age of 16 and then having him join the Legion of Superheroes. Problem solved. Cause ew, kids, who can relate to that, am I right? Oh wait, 5G, all legacy all the time. Make up your mind. Number 4, Captain America. What? It's true. Captain America disappeared in the gap between the Golden and Silver Ages. Canonically, he was frozen in ice and then rediscovered. This was so he could still remain true to his Golden Age World War II roots, but could also rejoin the new Marvel era as one of their core heroes. This would be played up for great emotional impact in the MCU, where people would even be looking for him after he sacrificed himself. There were many heroes who disappeared in the gap between the Golden and Silver Ages during the decline of popularity of superhero comics, but few reappeared quite as triumphantly as Captain America. And he's definitely not disappearing again anytime soon. Number 3, Janet Van Dyne. Let's stay in the MCU for a little bit. Put our feet up, get cozy. And here we're gonna head over to the world of Ant-Man and the Wasp. The MCU dealt with the controversy around Hank Pym by making him old and sidelining him and building up a quirky, grumpy mentor persona. This was so that the first Ant-Man you encounter in this universe is Scott Lang, not him. But as the story unfolded, we would learn about the tragic tale of the original Wasp, Janet Van Dyne, who disappeared into the quantum realm and looked fantastic while doing so. She would disappear for decades, with some thinking her dead, but not Hank or her daughter. They were convinced, and eventually their faith and dedication would be proven right. Number 2, Wally West. Oh Wally, when the head of a company is gunning for you, you're gonna disappear in some convoluted ways. Wally West's disappearance in the New 52 and his replacement with another version of himself, but one who happened to be ethnic, was not met very well. Wally was a classic character who had existed since the early era of sidekicks, a founding member of the Titans in the 60s, and he had maintained this mantle for 23 years. This was until Barry's abrupt return, because classic characters overrode legacy at that point. He was the Flash being adapted into cartoons and shows, and for many the only Flash they had ever known. And then he just vanished. So did his wife and his kids, who were also heroes. Ice cold. And why? No reason. Just cause they could. This was not something that fans got over, and a lot of the annoyance got placed on the poor new Wally Wallace West, Wally 2, who really was an okay character but had come about in the worst way. The return of Wally was something that was used to usher in the start of the Rebirth era. And finally, in at number 1, Batman. So Batman has been in continuous publication since his comic book inception back in the Golden Age. But in his adaptations, sometimes it's a plot point to just have the Dark Knight vanish. Cuz. Birds of Prey TV series, where's Batman? I don't know, dead, maybe. The start of Batwoman, where's Batman? I don't know, removed to make Batwoman look better? Even though that should not be a requirement. Putting other characters down to bring others up is never a good look, especially when Batwoman never needed that in her comics. Then we have the DCAU in-canon gap. This is between the animated series and Batman Beyond. Where is he? Just gone, because he couldn't be Batman anymore, but they didn't know that. He just vanished, alone. Bitter old man Bruce. Batman gets the number 1 spot because it's pretty random, and also surprising when such a powerhouse character disappears. So those were 10 superheroes who disappeared. Of course there are more. Let me know who are some of your favorites down below. I'm Sasha, and thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. We'll see you again soon. Bye bye.